Hey you, yes you, see all these wonderful people right here? They are my Patreons. With the support I get from them, I can afford to do my passion as a career and bring you guys weekly videos. Want to join them? For just $1 a month, you can get videos 24 hours before anyone else. And for even higher tiers, you can get Polaroids, letters, and mystery boxes from me to you. And even Fursuit parts, not to mention my eternal thanks. So what are you waiting for? Become a Patreon today via the link in the description. Thanks again, enjoy the video.
Good morning, Blep Army, and welcome to another workroom video, which usually means a tutorial, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. Arm sleeves, apart from tails, are probably one of the easiest things to make. It's literally just a cylinder. It's simple, it's easy. Today we're gonna make two sets of arm sleeves, and I'm gonna show you guys how I make both of them because they are both differently patterned and they're made with different measurements. So the two arm sleeves we're gonna be making today, one is for Sprocket, so they're just canine, floppy-eared canine. I like it. And then we've got Kuro, who's going to be a kimono cat. You can kind of see head base there. The things you will need for this project is big bits of paper like butcher's paper, or you can tape a bunch of sheets, printer paper sheets together. You need a pen to draw your patterns on. You need the fur that you're going to make your arm sleeves out of. You need scissors. You're going to need a sewing machine, or you can do this by hand if you really want. You will also need elastic. The strength is up to you, and you're also going to need something to hem your arm sleeves with if you so choose, so bias tape, or I use strips of minky. So let's go. I lied, we also need a measuring tape. So this butcher's paper you can get from IKEA, actually. IKEA in Australia sells it. Okay, so we're gonna do sprockets first. So I've asked my customers for two measurements. First one is up around your shoulder and armpits, and then one from the top of your shoulder to your wrist. That is going to make sure that we have the arm sleeves the correct length. The wrist measurements I tend to leave out of it, and here's why. So if I were to take a measurement around my wrist, right, that's about like 6.5 inches. And when I put my hand paw on, which is what we want to put the arm sleeve over, that's going to be way too tight. So what I like to do instead is grab a hand paw, and these are Sprocket's hand paws, like so, and then I'll take a measurement around there. So this, I'm going to go with about 12 inches for that, so that's going to be our base measurement. So the measurements we have are shoulder, armpit, circumference, shoulder to wrist, and then we have around the wrist with hand paws on. You have to have the hand paws on, or it's not going to work. So I generally start with that shoulder to wrist measurement, 24 inches from shoulder to wrist. And I'm going to measuring tape, and we're just going to draw a big long line of that shoulder to wrist. That's that line. Now on the end of this, I'm going to add 1 or 2 inches more, and that's just because sometimes when you move around, it can slide up and down, and we don't necessarily want that. So I'm going to add just a little bit extra. I won't add too much for these. So I'm going to start with the end of it. So we're going to go with 12 inches. So start with 6, go 6 either side, divided by 2, 12. So there we go, there's that bit, and now we're going to extend this bit up the top because we don't not have enough. So let's extend this again now that we've got our little extendo bits, so 10.5. So we've done our upper measurement, we've done our lower measurement, now we're going to connect the dots. So we go from point A to point B, like so. Point A to point B. So we've got our upper measurement, we've got our lower measurement. Now, this is the pattern, this is it, it's a square, well, a trapezium. We're going to draw our markings onto it. So this is where the shoulder starts, this is where the wrist starts. The fur direction is going this way. So we're gonna get up Sprocket's ref real quick. It's literally all one color apart from the wrists. So as you can see on the reference sheet, the arm is all one solid color, and then you've got a little ring at the wrist, which is what we're gonna end on because that's gonna make it look nicest transition-wise. So now that we've done those patterns, that's it for Sprocket pretty much, for the pattern at least. So we're gonna write, so this is gonna be the line gold, this is gonna be the blue, you should always write your fur direction. Okay, and now we're gonna cut this out of paper. You don't need to watch me do that, so I'm just gonna do some magic. Done. Okay, now we're gonna move on to Kuro's. He's a bit more complicated, and he's got 2 different arms, so hooray. I find the wrist measurements, unless you have a really large person, tend to be the same for everybody. Okay, now we're gonna do the 50 centimeters at the top. I may have miscalculated. I'm gonna use leftover bits from this one. 50 it is. Okay, so Kuro's arm sleeves. So we need to pick where on our arm is going to be the top. They haven't actually changed the markings from the front to the back. So we're gonna have to do some sleuthing, and I'm gonna grab an actual hand paw of this suit. This is the hand paw for this suit. Some good little kitten beans. I like these a lot. So I'm gonna grab my hand paw and I'm gonna put it there. And I'm just gonna copy this as it is. So this is gonna ideally come all the way up to here. So we're gonna start with this one, mimicking our hand paw. Something that's like here, this. And then they have one that comes down like this. So I'm gonna make this have a stripe that comes like this. This side. Like that. So I'm gonna go with that to kind of mimic what the bodysuit, what the reference is doing. And then on the opposite side, there is this here is the inside of the arm. This is the outer of the arm. So we're going to draw a stripe like this. We're going to do a big stripe down the middle of this. So there's our pattern for Kuro. Latte, rust. So because Kuro has two different arm sleeves, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to cut this out, but I'm not going to separate the patterns just yet. Because I need these exact measurements, I'm just going to trace this entire piece as one piece for the completely black arm sleeve. And that's going to mean we waste less paper. It's going to mean that we don't have to draw measurements out again. It's just going to save us some time. We like saving time. So let's cut this out again. All done. So I'm going to start off with Kuro's black arm sleeve. So I'm going to cut one of these completely out of black, and then I'm going to start cutting out all the pieces for his. So let's do that, I guess. Bluey swirly straw glass. Just because I'm an adult doesn't mean I can't have a good dopamine hit of a bluey swirly straw glass. If you're tracing on black like fabric, dark fabric, the number one thing I can recommend is these liquid chalk pens. It's literally just chalk and water, and it comes out in the wash straight away. So it's always my best number one choice for tracing onto dark fabrics. Now that we've done that, we can cut this out. So let's do that. Okay, now we've got all our pieces cut out. We're going to cut them out of their respective furs. I'm going to start with the camel because it's the biggest. And we have two arm sleeves. We have one tabby and we have one black, which is what we want for Kuro. Now we're gonna do sprockets. So I'm gonna put these aside and we'll get those going. We have Sprocket's arms cut out now. So yeah, now we've just got to sew it together. So we're basically just going to reassemble it like we drew it on the page. So, and then once all four of those are done, we're going to take them and we're going to fold them in half. So imagine this has the blue bit on the end, and then we're just going to sew along there. And then that's pretty much the arm sleeve themselves. Past that, then we've just got to hem them and add the elastic, which is really, really easy. For these, I'm just going to use a straight stitch on the longest stitch for the first little bit, and then I'm going to be zigzag stitching over the top. This will seal the edge and make it look nice and neat. With the longer stitch length, I find that my machine just likes to take the fur a little bit nicer. But of course, you use what you prefer and you use what is best for your machine. Okay, now we are moving on to the stripy arms. Now that we've done Kuro's, sprockets. So I'll show you how I machine sew my stripes. So I do start by trimming off the excess at the end. I just tend to find that that makes it a little bit nicer. So now I start with one end. So I'm going to go with this end first, and I pin all the way along the top edge of the stripe. It doesn't matter which edge you do first. Oakley dokley, we have one stripe in. I've just zigzagged and straight stitched all around it, looking nice and neat. Some good seam pawn right there. Good stuff, good stuff. I will brush it out after it's all sewn together, but yeah, generally the gist of when you're sewing stripes by machine is I work with one hard edge and then I'll stop and then I'll repin the next hard edge and I'll do that. So I did one side and then I did the other side and I zigzagged both and it looks really nice and neat. All right, let's do the second half of this arm sleeve, shall we? Now that we've sewn our arm sleeves together, we should go around and trim threads. And now we're basically going to fold this in half and sew it. Pretty much. Making sure that your stripes and your other patterns line up properly. Yeah? Cool. Same deal. Straight stitch and zigzag. Okay, so now that all of those are brushed out, we're going to start hemming. This just makes it clean up and look a whole lot nicer overall, in my opinion. So I'll show you how I hem my anything, really. I start with some minky, or you can use whatever fabric you like. I'm just going to cut a big long strip from it, essentially. So I'm going to do this. This will probably do me 2 of the arms, maybe. So we'll cut another one for the other 2. So this is going to essentially also play into our attachment of the elastic for the arm sleeves. I'm going to grab one of my arms. Essentially, we've got one arm sleeve right side out and I've cut a strip out of minky, and to start we're going to fold the top of our minky like so. So just a little bit over the edge, and we're going to start pinning it right fluffy sides together. So the fluffy sides of the minky to the fluffy side of the fur. And once I reach this point, I'm just going to trim off the excess. And now we're just going to get our sewing machine and we're going to sew along the top of this. Just with a straight stitch, you don't need to zigzag this one. So before we go any further with the hemming, we are going to measure our elastic. You generally don't need it to be that long, so I'm going to go with about that much. So you're going to pre-cut that, take your measurement and add a couple centimeters, just so you can have room for your seam. And this is a pretty strong, pretty stiff elastic. I prefer it, but it's up to you. If you want softer elastics, that's fine. So we're going to come back to our hem here. We're going to pull this edge all the way up, like so. Now I'm going to actually turn around so I can make sure I can show you guys this properly. But essentially what you're going to do, so you fold it in half, so you're bringing it together like that, and then you're going to fold it again so it sits over the edge of your arm like that, and then you're going to top stitch across all of this. So I'm going to start pinning this, and you just do that all the way around and then top stitch it. Just with a straight stitch, no zigzag needed. We're all done with that for the moment. When you reach a point where you want the top of your arm to be, I recommend putting it on the opposite side to your seam. So we'll put it just up here. When you reach that point, you're gonna put your elastic in, and then you're gonna fold your hem over the top of it and pin it in place. And that means when you top stitch that, the elastic is going to be secured where you want it. And there we go. So now we've got a lovely, lovely hem. You'll notice there will be some fur on the inside, on the outside of your arms that have been caught in the seam. Just brush it out. No worries. Now we're basically going to repeat the same process with the other arm, except we're going to put this end bit in there. So same deal, just we're gonna pin the elastic into the other side, so the other end into this one. And now time for sewing. Now these are done, I'm gonna finish the other one and then we will wrap up. Okay, so we have 2 wonderful sets of arm sleeves. One for Sprocket, one for Kira. I can tick those off my to-do list. So I hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial. It's really not too challenging a make. It's a really easy way to add a little bit extra to your partial. Can recommend. You just wear them underneath your t-shirt. So you take your shirt off when you're suiting up. You put your arm sleeves on, so just like that. Then you put your shirt over the top and then they look like they're coming out of the shirt. So that's how that works. But thank you all for watching. Leave any questions that you have down below. Feel free to join my Patreon for a whole bunch of my fursuit making patterns. I'm not putting these ones up because it's just a rectangle. That would be silly. But I do have my hand pull patterns and my feet pull patterns and some head patterns and all that stuff available down there. But do check that out and I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.